Hello, hello. Oh, baby! Thank you! And I beat Frank. Okay.
Oh my god!
Okay.
He just a butterfly!
Okay, yeah, because we gotta wait for intro music.
Hit that shit, bitch!
So, yes, hi. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Completely Appropriate Podcast. I am Frank, continuing the conversation with our lovely guest, Laura, and here with my co-host, the other guy, the guy that does most of the talking, the guy that loves talking over people. That's why we can never get through any fucking subject. Anthony. Yes, that guy.
Hi, how are you? Oh my god, I miss you guys so much. It's been like
Oh,
2 days since you heard us last. Did
so
you miss
long.
us? I bet you did. So we're continuing the conversation today with Laura of the Rose. Laura Rose.
Yes.
The probably one of my favorite guests now because she doesn't make me do all the talking.
Yay.
So Laura has been on this journey since the army, fighting IBS, and with a husband fighting PTSD, along with life. Life continues. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we go through, and she has found herbalism.
There you go. Herbalism. Yes.
I almost say it right. Yeah, she is. So she has been studying herbalism for a couple years now, and
A very long time. Yeah.
well, a very long time, but it's taken the last 2 years for her to put together this little notebook she is about to spill for us. We are very fucking lucky to have this kind of information because, like we were mentioning in our last episode, it's very hard to find this information. I've tried to find similar info without going to a school online, and you have to be so specific with what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You have to be specific with what you're willing to try. You almost already have to know what you need to use to know why.
Yes. Yes. And that's why, like, I have been on this journey about plant allies since, oh gosh, maybe 2015, 14. I mean, genuinely, like an actual, I dove into essential oils first. I'm going to make a quick disclaimer about essential oils. I think they're wonderful to smell and to diffuse. I, however, do not recommend ever ingesting essential oils because it is literally, the essential oils is the most volatile chemical compound in that plant. That's the stuff that's going to get you to have a pharmaceutical type reaction. Yes, my son's here. Whee! Yeah. So essential oils are the most volatile part of the plant, and so you're going to end up having a much stronger reaction, and it's just the poison of the plant. It's not a balanced supplement. And I would
Hey Tony.
and I yeah.
You beautiful bastard. You're
I know,
so
isn't he?
gorgeous.
Isn't
You
he?
can't hear us. You got the headphones.
No,
on.
I can't.
Thank God, because the kid was.
He says you're beautiful. Yes. So while essential oils I think are wonderful for diffusing and for smelling, I don't recommend ever putting them inside of your body because, like I said, it's the most toxic, volatile part of the plant. It's not balanced, it's not whole, and you're going to end up like, I think it is 1 drop of peppermint oil is equivalent to like 50 tea bags. And you wouldn't put 50 tea bags in 1 cup and drink that. I mean, we're talking about it's concentrated.
I had no idea.
Yes, and that's the thing. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate from a lot of other people that are listening to this that are very into plant stuff. It's so strong. It's so strong, and you don't need that. Like, you're going to do far more damage to your body using an essential oil for internal use.
Now,
So
what about the vapor? Like the vaporizers when you're inhaling the liquid? Like it's still.
Now, essential oil vaporizer?
I'm thinking.
Or are you talking about like the pens?
Like a diffuser. Yeah, like a
See,
pen. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's get CBD.
I would not. CBD is great. Oh, CBD is wonderful. I know they do make essential oil vape pens.
Right.
I would not do that. I'm not going to put essential oils directly into my body. And
Okay.
that path goes straight, that goes straight into your lungs. What goes from your lungs right into your bloodstream. So you're not even going to digest it. You're putting it straight into your blood immediately, which is why so many people are like, whoa, I'm having this reaction. Yeah, you are. You are, yeah. Diffusing it in the air, it's like I said, it's coming in through your nose. So yeah, you are going, I mean, anything that you smell are particles coming into your body.
Right. At least it's getting diluted with the air.
Yeah. So and I just had to put that as a disclaimer. Like, don't go out and buy a bunch of essential oils and start taking them. You're gonna hurt yourself. Like, don't. I am super against it. I love essential oils and perfumes and, like I said, diffuser. Yeah, aromatherapy is huge. I mean, put one drop in like a big thing of oil. Like I said, it is so concentrated. You don't need to put like 10 drops on your hand and rub it on your body. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It harkens back to the last episode where we talked about sound therapy.
Yeah.
You know, it's hitting certain senses in the body, olfactory senses in this case,
Yes.
auditory senses in the crystal bowls and whatnot. But
Yep.
it's still reacting to your body in a physical, tangible way.
Yes.
And the oils are gonna, if you're ingesting them, of course, it's gonna do the same thing, except there's no dilution to it if it's going directly into your body.
Yes, and that's the thing. And I have a bunch of friends that are very into essential oils and they love to sell them and ingest them, and they prefer that. I don't. And I know that.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying I know that a lot of people, especially in like the herbalist and even spiritual like kind of communities, some people get really heated about it. And they're not holding space for other people's opinions. So I needed to throw that out there.
You could turn everything dogmatic. You know, everything
Totally.
could be turned into a belief rather than, you know, an idea or an intuition. Like that, I hate beliefs so much. It goes back just like dogma. I use the right word.
Mm-hmm.
Dogma from Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I know what you're talking about.
That's the exact point of that. Anyway,
Yeah.
Moving on. So, how do you feel about smoking when it comes to like people that aren't smoking tobacco necessarily, but you know, you get rose
Catnip is great.
cigarettes.
You can smoke catnip. Oh, absolutely. Don't buy the stuff from Petco because it's gonna taste like shit. Grow it yourself. Or you can buy catnip from really awesome herbal websites like Mountain Rose Herbs. Oh, I recommend them 110% for anything.
But why catnip?
Catnip has the same type of relaxing effects as marijuana.
You are kidding.
No, you can smoke catnip. Totally legal. Yes. Also, a tea called Blue Lotus tea, which is actually illegal in Louisiana.
No, we're not glossing over that. I'm a little pissed off about this.
Catnip.
Because
Catnip.
do you know how many hours I spent as a teenager searching the web for legal alternatives to marijuana?
Catnip.
And that never came up. I had the nutmeg come up. You have banana peels where you scrape
banana peels. I don't know about that one, but I've heard that. I've heard that.
Heard it, yeah. Oh, speaking of smoking banana peels, on a whole different thing, black clove cigarettes, or maybe it's just clove cigarettes, but
Clove
cigarettes.
Clove cigarettes.
Well,
they're all dark.
They're
all dark. Yeah.
They always tasted like banana peels to me.
Really?
Yeah. Just something that came into mind.
Nice. Mugwort is also really good to smoke.
Call me
mugwort.
I am not a mugwort. I am
mugwort
all the way.
now there, and I want to also be super clear. So if you do smoke mugwort, it needs to be for a very short time, because long term it can have. I cannot remember. I think I was doing my classes. Mugwort needs to be used for short periods of time, not for long periods of time. And that's another thing in herbalism that you need to be aware of, is if you're going to take and use any sort of herb medicinally, you need to make sure that what kind of the time limit is for ingesting. mugwort can have long-term effects, and it can, I think, start making you nauseous. And mugwort also gives you really intense dreams. So if you want to do some visioning, if you're doing deep meditations and stuff, you can burn mugwort as an incense, and that'll help. You can drink mugwort tea, you can smoke it.
What?
Oh yeah, you'll get intense visionary vision dreams. You will like speak to gods and ancestors. I'm not even kidding you. Like, it's pretty intense.
Trying to get a whole generation of kids high right now. This is going out.
Yes.
Letting everybody know.
I'm spilling all the secrets today.
That's amazing.
Yes.
You had to pay to get this knowledge.
I did pay to get this knowledge. And there are other schools, like actual accredited schools, that will take the GI Bill. There are schools for herbalism that will take the GI Bill. Let me say that one more time. You have no excuse. If this is something that you want to do, and that's the thing with herbalism, with these courses, you will be able to have, a certification that you have done these classes, that you have this knowledge, and you can open your own business. You can start to treat people with confidence. And I think I've been studying for 8 years before I even got comfortable enough to give my kids an herb or my husband an herb, because I wanted to make sure that I was doing this right. And Blue Lotus is also really good. It has a very similar effect to marijuana. It is illegal in Louisiana. And the FDA says, warning, it's so bad for you. You'll be fine. The ancient Egyptians used it as like a party thing. So Blue Lotus tea, my husband and I have tried that. It was awesome. It was awesome.
What was your experience?
It was a lot like being high. It was a lesser intensity, but it was a lot like it was very relaxing, a little bit kind of mentally euphoric. It was great.
All of these down.
Please do.
And we're gonna administer this stuff to Frank.
Do it. Catnip. If you want, I really recommend Mountain Rose Herbs. I've been to their store. I've used them since the beginning of my herbalism journey. Mountain Rose Herbs. They're based out of Oregon. They're amazing, phenomenal. All their stuff is organic and non-GMO. So you're getting, I don't want to say clean, but you're getting unfiltered, unmessed with plant matter or oils or, all that stuff. You can find anything you want at Mountain Rose Herbs. They've got everything. And another thing
after this,
right? Another thing that really helped with
hang on real quick. Frank, you wanted to say something there?
Yeah. One, I have catnip all over the table. I just had to clear it out before we started the first episode.
Oh.
B, that I follow someone who ages ago, she tweeted that for some reason or another, she can't be smoking marijuanas. So someone suggested to her, I want to say a medical professional, but no, yeah, that an alternative for her anxieties is to smoke lavender and chamomile.
I was just about to say, for relaxation, you can also smoke a blend of rose, chamomile, lavender, like all these things, like put in a pipe and smoke it. That's going to be great for relaxing. If you want a high, more of a high, like a body euphoric high, not just for relaxation, go for a little bit of the mugwort, go for the catnip, go for Blue Lotus. Gotcha. And I recommend doing those if you're going to be doing mental health work, if you are in a place that you are stable. I do not recommend doing any of these things if you are in a bad place. If you're in a bad place, I recommend St. John's wort tincture, to be exact. And if someone decides to take St. John's wort, they really need to look into also adding passion flower extract to that. And the reason is passion flower is a nervine, so it's going to help balance your body's nerves, and it also helps relieve muscle spasming. So with the St. John's wort and the passion flower, there's a synergy between the two plants that actually increases the St. John's wort potency in your body, so you take less of it. I have David on 15 drops of the St. John's wort and 15 drops of passion flower, and that's all he needs every day.
And what are the effects, just to clarify?
This is for antidepressant. It helps him with his anxiety. It helps him with his anger. It helps him be more receptive to me saying things like, hey, you're getting really angry. He's able to take that and say, okay, you're right. So it kind of takes away a little bit of that shield. It allows, it's helping him to allow growth without it being such a personal attack. Now, David is also doing a lot of mental health work. He's a men's mental health advocate. And he, like I said, he does the Bastards Road Project. He's always out hunting. He has his hobbies. You know, the family is very supportive of him. And he does a lot of his own mental health work that works for him. He's been through several therapists and an inpatient program, and it's been wonderful for him. And the journey that is working best for him, that he is having progress with, is what he's doing now. I'm still in weekly therapy, and we both have extreme varying PTSD symptoms. For example, my paranoia and anxiety is far higher on the daily than his, and it affects me and how I communicate and how I act. With David, it affects him more mentally. So, like I said, it's fascinating to sit down and to compare our symptoms with each other, because we were both in Iraq at the same time. We were just in different places. So when we talk about certain things and certain smells, it has that sense of camaraderie, and it's very nice. It's very nice.
Yeah. Well, are you aware that Frank was in a unit with him?
No.
Yeah, that's how we met,
That's how we know
actually.
David.
Yeah. But yeah, with the whole smells thing, um, every house in Iraq, first of all, the fucking JP5, every time I would smell
No.
Iraq, I'd be like, it smells like Iraq.
Yes,
But
it does. You know, we can run our I don't know if they've changed it since I've been in, but we had a decontamination engine that could run on JP8.
yeah.
And they were like, if you ever have to use JPA, just be careful because there's going to be a big flame coming out the back. I'm like, oh, we'll write that down.
Yeah, like every house in Iraq had a certain smell to it because of, the cooking, and it's very familiar to a certain brew in Mexican dishes. I think what it is chicken broth. I think I come to find out a few years ago. Like it's the same thing. So then for the longest time, I couldn't stand that smell. Like told my mother, I'm like, when I got back, I'm like, every house in Iraq smells like this. Like I do not want to smell fucking chicken broth like ever again. And
Yeah.
yeah, and what did she do? I was asleep. She did fucking chicken broth.
Here's some chicken.
And yeah, and I smelled it. I woke up because I smelled it, and I just fucking poured it out the sink. I'm like, no, I can't fucking stand this. Like I'm getting the fucking not the chills, but that cold in my blood just thinking
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah.
Ah,
So
anyways,
were you down, were you OIF 0608?
0607.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. We were there at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, I was in Ramadi with our unit 2-4, and
Okay.
then David was sent off. Well, you probably know about this, so
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
recap, yeah,
yeah.
David was sent off to do secret squirrel stuff.
Secret
So
squirrels. Yeah. Yeah, he's my little secret squirrel for sure. That fits him perfectly.
By the way, I don't think we mentioned Laura was in the army. You want to?
Yes, I was in the army from 2005 to 2010. I joined as a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear specialist, which is a
Jesus.
74 Delta. I think it used to be a 54 Bravo. Um, so I did that, and then after I got out of AIT, I was at Fort Leonard Wood for 6 months, OSET. So it's the one station unit training, and I get to Fort Hood. Yay. I asked for Korea and Egypt. They're like, nah, Fort Hood. Thanks for that. So I get to Fort Hood, and the guy that picked me up from the holding bays took me to the aviation unit. So I was supposed to go to 1st Cavalry, the 1st Cav Division, 1st Brigade. He took me to the 1st Air Cavalry Brigade. So I'm there for 5 days, and they're like, we don't have any of your paperwork. We'll get you all logged in. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, I think it was G3, they're like, we've been looking for you. And we were about to mark you AWOL because you were supposed to be at 1st Battalion, not 1st Air Battalion. I'm like, holy shit, I've been here the whole time. So they kept me in Air Cav, and I really didn't want to.
They kept you there?
They kept me there, man. I was so upset. I really wanted to go to 1st Brigade. I really wanted to go to 1st Brigade because they had the Lima units, the chemical vehicles. Like, I was super excited. And I didn't get my Lima training, but they were going to put me into Lima. Yeah, anyway.
Lab units, right?
Yeah, kind of. The mobile decontamination stuff. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And like my friend had done her Lima training, and then she came up here to Washington, and I didn't do Lima training, and they were going to put me in a Lima unit. And I was like, whatever. Anyway, so I ended up being in the Air Cavalry Brigade, and I got stuck in with supply. So I just did supply stuff. And then when we went down range, I think it was 3 months later, they put me in S3. So I'm going to say all of this in acronyms, and then I'm going to say it regularly in case
Thank
people
you.
don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't. I'm not a military guy, by the way.
Okay, all right. So here I go. Frank, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I was the RTO for the UAVs for the MNDBAO for OIF 0608. So what that means is I was a radio telephone operator for the unmanned aerial vehicles in the multinational division of Baghdad's area of operation for Operation Iraqi Freedom 2006 to 2008.
Oh yeah, the letters work better. Say the letters again. Do the acronym.
All of them? I'm gonna
All
work
of
my
them
face.
again without me talking over it.
Okay, I was an RTO for the UAVs in the MNDBAO for OIF 0608. Do you want me to say the words again? Do you want me to say the whole words?
Just for the fuck of it. Just for the fuck of it.
The letters are the words. Look at me. Okay. I was a radio telephone operator for the unmanned aerial vehicles for the multinational division of Baghdad's area of operation from OIF for Operation Iraqi Freedom 2006 to 2008.
Motherfucker. I hate the military. You guys.
And I was responsible for all of the UAVs, and I was also responsible for deploying our DART and drift teams to recover our fallen angels, which were our helicopters that went down, and also to recover our fallen UAVs, which were usually shot down. So, and that also included bringing back deceased military members.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean it's no wonder that you came back needing help, man. I mean, like
It was a 24/7 operation. Like our Echo company would be launching the UAVs, and we had 2 monitors I'm not sure I can say this now. We had 2 monitors up top because I had a secret clearance for this, and we had the TVs up top. We were on a stage, and I had my commanding officers behind me, and then everybody else was different, the S3 and S2, and I had 2 computers, I had a SATCOM, I had 3 radios, 2 monitors, and we would have this big layout of how we were tracking the UAVs, and we would watch their feeds and tell them where to go. And it was a lot of work. It was a 24/7 operation because we would do IED sweeps before people went out on their missions. So it was big, and we would watch where everybody was, and we would be letting our teams know where everyone was and what was going on. And it was a lot of stuff. So it was a 24/7 operation. In 15 months, I had 10 days off. And I worked night shift. So I had a lot of alone time. I had very little human contact, which has now kind of made me a bit of a hermit. I was probably far more outgoing before. I both crave human contact, and I cannot be around it at the same time. It's difficult. Yeah. So like with having kids, I have all this guilt and separation anxiety if I leave them. If I go to the grocery store, if I'm planning on going somewhere tomorrow, I'll start missing them today, because that is a manifestation of my PTSD, abandonment issues. And like, that's all me. It's all my shit that I'm not processing. And then I have all that extra trauma on top of watching my mom die. Right. So it's all about acknowledging and working through it. So
On top of all that, you're a mother and a wife.
a mother
Right?
and a wife, stay-at-home mom.
That's
Yep.
not to be negated or put aside but like that is just as traumatic a thing. I've seen my mom go through it. It is just as traumatic a thing as any fucking thing in the world. That's why it's such a journey for people to take, is having kids.
Yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
very traumatic thing. And I don't
It
say
can be.
traumatic. It's traumatic in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. It's just, how do you deal with it, and what do you do to cope? What are your coping mechanisms? Some people drink. Some people go out to bars and ignore their fucking family.
Yeah.
Some women just up and take off on their fucking families.
And that I understand. I've felt that. So David has a grandmother that totally deuced out. She had 12 kids. It's a long story. 12 kids. And after the youngest was, I think, 5, she just up and packed her bags and left one night and didn't tell anybody.
Sure.
And I'm like,
Naturally.
I kind of get it. I'm not saying it's right, but I kind of get it. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like, the people that are more introspective, like yourself, like, because you've had to be, you've lived a life that required it.
well, and I also chose to step out of my box. I think people can go through traumatic experiences and be very, very narrow-minded, and it's really only when you choose not to be anymore, when you choose to be uncomfortable and to learn more and to understand more. I really think that's when you grow. It's a choice. I know that there are barriers that people have that they have to get through before they can get to that place of choosing. So I want to, because I used to be there. I used to be in a place where I couldn't. There was no way for me to get there. So I do understand, and I try to be the gray Jedi, you know.
What the imagery that comes to mind is like, with depression and PTSD, all this stuff is like, it's like you're walking through a dark tunnel, and there are, every 100 yards or so, you get another spot in the top where there's light shining through it. And it's like, it's just high enough to where if you jumped high enough, you can grab it, but it's so fucking hard. You're always trying to jump and reach for that light above you. And you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna walk another 100 yards. Maybe I'll reach the next one.
Because you are comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's like, it's too hard to climb up. If you knew you just jumped one more time, you could make it and grab that ledge and climb up out of that tunnel.
Yeah.
And be up top, and you're still walking the same direction. You're still going the same path. You're still having the same trouble. The only difference is there's sky above you now. You're not sucked into this, and it's you know, I've lived a very, like I said the last episode, I lived a very privileged life compared to the majority of the damn world. But I suffered through my depression and through, you know, whether it was self-inflicted or otherwise. We all have these journeys ourselves to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whether you are an Army vet that, you know, or a Marine vet like Frank and David, or, you know, just a lonely old yoga teacher, boot maker, and father over here, like, we all have a journey to make. We can all benefit from these different modus operandi. Like, we don't just have to take for granted everything. What are you doing?
Kitty.
The cat wanted to come say hi. Go get the kitty.
I just,
Oh my god.
Laura lost her goddamn.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you didn't hear her. She was meowing from the other side of the house, and then she's like, hey, how about you pick me up?
Right?
Hey, and then she got right next to me and stretched out her paw. He's like, pick me up, bitch.
How could you not? How could you not? Oh my god.
Oh my
So-
god.
Oh, she's so pretty.
Well, that's
Oh.
a great break in the conversation.
Sorry.
I have no idea what we were talking about anymore.
Depression. Depression.
There's no such thing as depression when there's a cat in play.
Right? See? Exactly.
Oh, that's why she wanted me to pick her up, because there's still some catnip left over.
Oh.
Yeah, you picked it up with your hands.
Nice.
You dirty bastard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but depression, St. John's wort, and passion flower working
How's that?
together.
So now let's work with Frank a little bit, get him back into the
Yes.
conversation. Frank is
Yes.
having trouble losing weight.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You want me to have trouble losing weight so we can talk about it in the
Oh.
podcast
Oh.
about fitness and all that bullshit.
Look at
Mm.
yourself, Frank.
What?
We care about you. We need you healthy.
I am healthy. I was gonna say the last episode when Laura was talking about how we haven't gotten this far without modern medicine and all the natural remedies and shit. I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm the exception to the rule. I never get sick, so
That's good.
Love that.
That's good. No, that's wonderful. I mean, like, like people with cancer and broken bones and, endometriosis, heart conditions, stuff like an herb isn't going to help this. I mean, it can to an extent, but without modern medicine intervening, we're not going to be living fully healthy with people who have chronic illness or a very severe disease or sickness or illness. We wouldn't be where we are without modern medicine.
Yep, modern
Yeah.
medicine. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because like my parents always tell me that when I was a baby, I was always getting sick. So then,
Hmm.
as much as I could be against vaccines as an adult, well, as a child, I needed those vaccines.
Yeah.
And somewhere between newborn and fucking depressed adult over here, um yeah, I needed something to balance, something in the middle to
Hmm.
build up my immune system,
Right.
because also I'm vitamin D deficient and I'm overweight and I don't get sick at all.
It is in South Texas. It doesn't make any sense. Go outside, you fuck.
That's good that even then your immune system is doing what it needs to. Or you're just washing your hands and you're not letting germs get into your body. So that too, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of different things and it's good that you don't get sick. If you're vitamin D deficient, put some vitamin D in your body. Your body wants it, I promise
Oh
you.
yeah, the VA is
And
sending
if you're in
truckloads.
Texas, go outside for 15 minutes and boom, there you go. Whole day worth of vitamin D for you.
I go
Outside,
outside
15
when I
minutes.
go to Costco,
Your
so
body wants the D, Frank.
What your body wants the D. We
Cuban
all
D
want the D.
apparently, because I'm getting truckloads of D3, vitamin D3 from the VA, and I'm like, oh, so I'm taking Cuban D.
No, don't take the stuff from the VA. Don't take those horse pills. Don't do that. Don't just go outside. Take your shirt off. You want sun contact on your body. Not to mention, it's going to help lift your mood to have direct sunlight warmth contact on your skin.
Man, I'm
That
gonna do
is
that right now.
huge. That's huge. That's another reason why, like, with all this quarantine stuff, nobody's going outside. Like, you can take all the vitamin D you want. You need to be exposed to the actual Bob. Like, have it tangible. That big orange ball,
Mhm.
feel it on your skin. It's very important.
Yep.
Okay, so perfect example. My eldest son got his tonsils removed in September and he had partial adenoid removal. He had tubes removed. He had his tonsils removed. And on day 2, I had him outside with no shirt, feet and hands digging in the dirt. Fresh air, vitamin D. And here's another, I'm going to talk about grounding for a minute. Grounding is you can measure this with scientific, I don't know the
I love
actual,
grounding.
it is real. You can measure all of the electromagnetic connections. Like it's fascinating. My neighbor is in remission from breast cancer and her daughter is in remission from leukemia. She was, I think, not even 2 years old when she had it. She's 6 now. And one thing that she learned through her chemotherapy is that when you actually touch dirt, it changes the neuron firing in your brain. It literally boosts your mood to put your hands and feet on the ground.
Yeah, it's actually
That's
recommended that we walk around barefoot.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because
Good.
of that, because of the grounding.
Yes.
I mean, number one,
Absolutely.
I learned to do that because as a runner, I had ankle issues when I first started running, and I had to become a barefoot runner,
Mm.
where I wear very very thin soles when I go,
Yeah.
and it all start it. So I learned about grounding then and the importance of running barefoot and stuff like that, and then I looked and it kind of blended together. And I love it. Like when my yoga practice, whenever we do yoga in the park, I recommend everybody just sands the yoga mat and we just get barefoot and do it in the
Yeah.
rain.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
it just feels better. It's so much
Yes, it
nicer.
does. Yes, it does. It feels better because it's better for you.
Yeah. So okay, now I've got to ask a touchy question.
Okay.
How much of this do you think is a placebo effect? Let's be real. Let's be real.
Well, and I'm so glad you asked this.
I believe in the placebo. I think it's an important
It is.
function of humanity, but I would like to differentiate a placebo versus,
I'm so glad you asked. The reason why I do not think this is a placebo effect is because it can be scientifically measured over and
well,
over
so
and
can the
over.
placebo effect though.
Yes, it can. Now you don't get as like a measurement of, so if you ground yourself and you have that electromagnetic, you can measure that. And then someone else who, you know, stands in their house can say, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better." But there's no scientific actual change. That's just mental. I'm talking about an actual measurable change.
Tangible.
Yeah.
Hi, kitty.
So now, right? So that's the difference that I see and understand with the placebo effect is that
Interesting. Yeah,
it's your mind controlling your body and believing in these things and having an effect versus a a measurable change. So it's kind of, I mean, it's like medication versus not. It's the same thing. The only difference is that if anyone goes out and steps outside, they're going to have that.
yeah.
That's going to happen no matter what. Now, depending on if they feel it or not, that's different. But either way, they are grounding. Either way, they are getting those frequencies. They are getting those synapses firing. They might not feel better because they might be in a bad place, but you're going to get that every time you put your finger on the ground. Every time you put your toe on the ground, that's happening. With the placebo effect, it might not. You might feel good, you might not.
It's not
But
as consistent.
it's consistent, yes. Measurable.
The
Science. I
consistency.
want the science behind it as well as what it makes people feel.
Exactly. That's what's got me so enthralled with yoga is because
Mm,
it's measurable science,
yes.
biologically based. Like how does your body move? How does it function in the socket joints and all this?
Yeah.
How do your tendons and muscles react to these positions? How does the breath affect all of it?
Oh, breath work is huge. Wow, breath work is huge.
Well, that's why I'm a vinyasa yogi. It's all about breath work with the movements. It's not just about the movements like in hatha or hot yoga,
Right.
that kind of stuff, where it's just like an ashtanga, where it's just straight workout style. Um, you're not really focusing on any sort of inner work. And like
Right.
I'm starting to get into yoga nidra a little bit and the yoga mudras where like, so it's very woo woo, and I have trouble with woo woo because I like science. I like it to make sense. So
The universe is not obligated to make sense to you.
yeah, but it is.
No, it's not.
No, it kind of
Tell
is.
the universe that. Go ahead.
Can I explain why it is?
Yes. Yes.
Because I am the universe. You are the universe. We are the universe. As much as we can. What is this? What are you doing?
I got this stuck on me.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to something like.
No, no, no. I got it stuck. I was like, oh shit. Sorry.
I got be a little distracted there. But yeah, no, we are the universe. It's implicit to us to try and understand ourselves.
Yes, but we don't always.
So
But we
no,
don't
we
always.
don't because
Yes.
we're not educated enough, but we can.
Yeah.
Like that's what that I'm every time I try and say that I'm not religious, it turns out that I'm much more of a Buddhist than I expect myself to be. Because I always come back to Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just that's what nirvana is. It's just becoming one with the universe. And if you're one with the universe, then you understand it, right?
Yes.
Then you understand. So how can you say the universe doesn't owe us anything? No, it definitely owes us understanding, but we owe the universe the effort to understand.
Exactly. That's the thing. We have to learn it.
Oh yeah,
We
it's
don't
not
like
easy.
if you're not taught something, how are you going to understand it?
Yeah, no, it
Like
takes
we have to do the work. I think that would be a better way of explaining it. We have to do the work to understand it.
Oh yeah. Well, I like to take the long way around.
Okay. All right.
Journey.
Yes, and I think there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about super quick with the St. John's wort.
Oh yeah.
It has with any um plants that you want to be using as medicinal herbs, always check side effects, always check other medications that they may react to. I know St. John's wort can make some people more sensitive to the sun, so you might have more of a chance of getting a sunburn.
Oh wow.
It also, oh, what was that?
I just said, oh wow. I
Oh,
didn't.
yeah. Also, it can impact.
I had no idea that. I mean, it makes sense, of course, right? But yeah, I had no
Right.
idea something you ingested could affect your
Yes.
sensitivity to the sun. Of course, yeah.
Yes. And it also can affect birth control. So if you're on birth control, St. John's wort is not a good option. St. John's wort is also really amazing at treating cold sores and the herpes virus in general. So if you have an outbreak,
Okay, listen up.
whether it's of a cold sore or genital herpes, St. John's wort is really going to be your friend. Whether it's to take tinctures or maybe to place a little bit of a St. John's wort balm on the affected area. I'm only familiar with cold sores. I'm not familiar with genital herpes, so that might be something if anyone has that to really look into an in-depth treatment to like to use on top of prescription medications with St. John's wort to maybe help just
Yeah,
kind
because
of relieve some irritation or pain.
yeah, ask your doctor, of course,
Yeah,
if you're taking any medication, make sure it doesn't react with it. But yeah, it's
yeah,
always good to have something that you could use in between the treatments. You know, if you're
yes,
taking a medication, you can only take it once every 6 hours. Well, what about those
right,
3 hours in between where it's not quite fucking working anymore?
right, yeah, exactly. Also, oh crap, it was about the St. John's wort. Not to take it while you're pregnant. And it can have an effect depending on how much St. John's wort you take. I read one peer-reviewed study of a woman who was taking copious amounts of St. John's wort for a very long time, and then she had surgery, and they were having a really hard time waking her up from anesthesia, and she was like moaning and grimacing in pain, and it took like 2 hours for her to wake up from anesthesia. So they recommend if you are taking St. John's wort to stop taking St. John's wort 48 to 72 hours before an operation. So any kind of medicinal plant that you are using for treatment, I mean, any plant that you're going to use, you got to do some research on it. And it's as simple as just Googling. Make sure that whatever you're going to take, it's going to actually help you long term. And what the boundaries of that plant are. I mean, it's the same way for any type of medication that you're on from a doctor. You know, like I know that the Depo-Provera shot, the birth control shot after a year can start to affect your bone density and the calcium absorption in your bones. So a lot of women that end up having the Depo shot get osteoporosis.
Oh,
So I mean, it's a lot, right? There, I know you guys are like, "What?" I'm looking at your faces.
no, well, I mean,
So
you're because it always sounds so good, right? Until
it
you
does sound
realize
good. It sounds
everything
really
has its
good.
limits. There's always a point of
Yes.
diminishing returns.
Yes. So it when you do take St. John's wort, David was taking it every day for about 8 weeks, which is what I really recommend. And then um, he would just kind of take it when he needed help during the day. This is not to replace a prescription medication for mental health. This is a
Supplement.
tool. Yes, it is supplemental. It is something else that will help you. Now, like I said, if you're already on antidepressants, you've got to ask your therapist, you know, how will this affect me? Can this be something that I add to it? And when you add any sort of a supplement or medication for mental health, what other actions are you going to be doing to utilize the help that that plant can give you? So if you're just doing therapy once a week and you're like, hey, I want to add St. John's wort. Well, if you add that St. John's wort, what other tool are you going to add to your mental health? Because you're going to have this extra help. It's not going to do the work for you. If you decide to start doing mindful meditation or 5 minutes of breathing, that is going to give you such a better, well-rounded growth of mental health than just adding on medication. Because if you just add medication, just add herbs, you have to be doing actions as well as supplements and getting these other tools.
Yeah, the right having the right tool for a job is always nice, but it's
Yeah.
much better to always have the right tool bag to bring with you.
Exactly. Also and I know that for David, he has a lot of nerve pain. And the passion flower, I had him on passion flower before I had him on St. John's wort to help him while he was coming off of all of his opiates, which helped. I know that California poppy is a close relative to the opiate plant, but it has the same kind of calming effect. So that would also be something really good to look into. And I had mentioned in, I think, the last episode about lion's mane, when you talked about the mud water. Lion's mane is also really good for healing damaged nerves, and that's just something you can eat. You don't have to make a tincture and a decoction. You don't have to do all these things. You can just eat the lion's mane mushroom, and it will have, I mean, it won't be as potent and strong, but it's still just as good for you to put into your body and to have.
Well, you can grow it in your apartment, in your home.
Yes, you can. Yeah, I'm growing valerian, I'm growing mugwort, like I'm growing a lot of stuff. If I can't find it here in the Pacific Northwest, like actually out wildcraft it, like I said, I'll order it from Mountain Rose Herbs, or I grow it myself if I'm able to.
That's amazing. So real quick, I've got like maybe 3 questions before we wrap up here. So some
Okay.
rapid fire style questions.
All right, great. Let's do it.
Well, not really rapid fire, but
Okay.
let's try and get through them pretty quick. So as far as plants you grow in your home, that could be great for you. You have a cat, right?
I do have a cat.
We all know cats love to chew on plants.
Yes, I do.
What would you avoid growing in your
Yeah.
house that could be detrimental to your cat, maybe?
I know pothos, I believe, are bad for cats. Poinsettias are really bad for cat. There's a lot that's actually really bad for cats. So what I've done is I have grown a pot of catnip for my cat. And so she leaves everything else alone.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
You're
My
welcome.
basil plants are gonna live.
Yeah, there you go.
I-
Give your cat their own, because that's what animals do, right? They want to chew on stuff, and you're growing these things like, oh, that looks good.
Yeah,
Give them their own
just
catnip.
Wave them around the apartment.
Yes. Yeah.
Their plants. Oh my God, I love it so much.
And then when you've got catnip, you can just snip some for yourself, dry it and smoke it, and bam, there you go. Share and share alike.
All right. So the other questions I got are plant specific. So hopefully you know.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
What? Okay. Well, definitely no. What are purple dead needles? I saw that on your Instagram.
Purple dead nettle. Purple dead nettle. Yes.
I wrote it right. I said it wrong.
Purple dead nettle. In fact, I actually pulled it up just in case because I was like, I bet he's going to say something about it. So it's an astringent, a diuretic, a diphoric. It's also an anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and antifungal. You can crush up the leaves like a pumice and put it on a cut if you want. Now you can also dry the leaves and make them into a tea. You can tincture them. You can make an elixir from them. You can do an infused honey. They're great. Oh yeah.
A lot of uses for
And
that.
the entire part of the plant is edible. Now, for example, let's say elderberry. The only part of that plant that is edible are the flowers or the actual berry, not the stem. Like, you know how sometimes you pick a blueberry and that little stem is on there? That's toxic.
Oh,
Everything else on that plant is toxic.
okay.
The only thing that you want to ingest from an elderberry are the berries and the flowers. Now, even with the berries, you have to quote unquote cook them, which means put them in a tincture, um, infuse them into honey. So there has to be some form of process. Otherwise, you're going to get really bad, like diarrhea and stomach cramps, vomiting. It's not going to kill you. And that's another thing with elderberry. Elderberry is really good for fighting off flus. And actually, there's been several studies that if you take elderberry before exposure to the flu and the common cold, it can help kill it so you don't get sick at all. When my kids get sick, elderberry. Everybody gets elderberry, especially during school season or school time. I give them elderberry at least twice a week, like Monday and Thursday. If you take it too much too often, you can get upset stomach and diarrhea because it's a berry, right? If you eat too many blueberries, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
No, she's fine now.
Oh. Oh.
Sorry,
okay.
David's in here because I texted him earlier. I was like, "Cat, help!" Because she was like clawing at the door. So now he's here.
Here he comes to save the day.
Yeah.
No, I wish you heard that.
Oh, he was singing that you came up here to save the day, but he sang it in a song. It was great.
It was
Yes.
great.
It was great. It was great.
Belladonna. What do you know about Belladonna? I hear this.
Belladonna is used
porn
for
star.
sleep. Yes, she is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's a little
Thank
priss.
you.
No, no,
one
we're talking
time
about
he sings
Belladonna, the
during
porn star.
entire episode.
David's like, yeah, she's a little priss. I'm like, no, we're talking about Belladonna, the porn star, and he's like,
She can
I'm
take
talking about the cat.
that Belladonna porn star should take out a dick.
I know she does. I've seen some of this stuff.
That's
I'm not surprised she
crazy.
retired. That poor thing. Anyway, so
She was blown out.
yeah, belladonna is used for sleep. Belladonna would be an herb that I would only recommend someone who has been very well versed and very well studied to use. That one is kind of dangerous. A lot like poke root. A lot of people want to use poke root because it's an amazing antibacterial. Like if you had strep, this would cure it. Like it's amazing. It's an antibiotic. However, if you take a lot of it, or I mean, I'm talking about like 1 drop of a tincture for a full grown man for no more than 7 days, because you're going to start hallucinating, is max. Like max. So there are there are certain plants that are very poisonous and toxic that can help you if you're not very well versed in foraging and making it and understanding how to dose yourself. I absolutely recommend going to an apothecary and asking them, say you're interested in valerian. They would probably recommend that you try something else like a lavender tincture or a cacao nib tincture, because those things they help you relax and they can help you sleep, or a California poppy tincture. Those are, and I think it's lemon balm is also a nervine, so that can help relax your body. There are safer alternatives to start using first before you use belladonna.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What a slew of information you just put out there.
You're welcome. I'm really trying. Like I'm trying really hard to be
No, you're killing it.
to study. I'm so nervous. This is the first time I've ever like actually talked about.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to this just to
Okay.
catch all the names you just listed off here at the end there, because that was.
And I really recommend everybody that listens to this and anybody that you guys talk to, and even you guys, pick one plant that, let's say you're out for a walk or driving and you see a plant that you're really interested in, Google it. Like Google, like, I don't know, you know, the way the plant looks in this area.
I keep meaning to look up what
And-
sativa divinorum looks like, actually.
Sativa, like the weed.
Yeah, like the weed.
I think the difference is the size of the bud and the leaf. I think indica has a fat leaf and sativa has a longer, thinner leaf. I think
No. What did I say?
the sativa.
That's not what I meant to say.
Oh,
What am I thinking of? Salvia divinorum.
oh, I don't know.
No, you don't know.
I don't know.
Salvia?
No.
Salvia was a legal plant in the state in the United States for a long time, and it has extremely high hallucinogenic properties. So you dry the leaves and you smoke just like a hit or two of this, and you're in another realm for like from this. I've never had DMT, but from this.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
It's very similar to. I mean, at least in the descriptive wise.
I personally, I have never done any kind of a hallucinogenic plant or man-made material. I've been too scared my whole life. I've been far too scared because reality is a lot for me anyway.
I may or may not have a couple hits of something in the room that I've had for like a while now, because I just haven't found time. I'm not comfortable with man-made stuff. Now, something I wanted to talk to you about in this vein was mushrooms, magic mushrooms.
Yes.
Just to end the conversation, 'cause we're going to be running a little long here, but I've
Okay.
got to get this conversation out. What do you know about magic mushrooms?
I know that mushrooms, microdosing mushrooms has phenomenal, phenomenal help with, like, it is my neighbor who is a therapist microdoses herself on mushrooms. There is so much scientific evidence. That's the thing. And people are like, ah, you just want to get high. There's so much evidence based. No, and that's the thing. You're not. It's literally. I love it. I'm too scared to do it yet because I have my own issues that I'm working through with just any sort of a hallucinogenic, altering state of that level.
If you go with just what I'd recommend, as somebody who's familiar with mushrooms, I've done the hero's dose. I've done the 5.5 to 7 grams worth to try and, because I wanted to see I was mad at myself. I wanted to see the devil, and I ended up loving myself by the end of that trip. I fought myself too. Like it gets hard, but
An ego death. You had an ego death.
To a degree, I've never had I've never had a lot of self-love, and it really gave me more self-love is what it was. Like, it made me realize that everything I was worried about, everything I thought I was worried about, I really didn't give a shit about. All that mattered to me was my son.
Yeah.
And it was like a click. Like, once I realized, oh, my life is about him. It's about nothing else. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And it sounds like such a simple concept, but when you're
It's not. That's the thing. It's not. When it clicks for you, like, you understand your kids are everything. When it clicks.
Yeah. I mean,
When
and it was there, when he was born.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't there to the degree where it made me feel good about my position in I still felt like the kid that happened to have a kid.
It's interesting you say that, because that is actually very specifically trauma related. When you have a trauma event as a child, it can actually stunt your certain parts of your emotional development. So when you feel like you're a kid being an adult, that's because you stopped emotionally growing at that point. There was a trauma there that you haven't been able to move. I have felt like a 17-year-old most of my life, and it wasn't until recently that I started to feel confident as a 34-year-old. I still don't feel like I'm 34, but I don't feel like a lost, confused 17-year-old anymore.
Yeah, it was only,
but that is a very common, common.
It's only within like the last year or so that I've finally come into like a real solidification of being fine with me.
Yeah.
And now I'm just having a fucking good time. Now it's
good.
Now it's just all about love. Like, I have my hard days and my heart, but I recognize them as hard moments, like, oh, this bullshit again. It's just like going to work,
Yeah.
You go through a hard time. It's like, well, it's just like going to work. I got to do it, got to get through it. And, the hours will pass and eventually we'll be beyond this.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, microdosing with mushrooms for depression on the daily, I am unaware of time restrictions on that.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got distracted.
No, it's fine. No, that's the thing. I have not done enough research on it. What I do know is that it's amazing, and I have not seen or heard of any story, issue, context, anything of negativity.
Yeah. So
at
after
all.
that initial hero's dose, I was sober for like 2 years, and then
Wow.
then I did a marathon, and I decided to celebrate and start drinking again that day because I had just run a marathon, and it was a big thing for me. It was one of the first major accomplishments I think I'd ever had. So I ended up relapsing I'm still drinking now, but I relapsed on other stuff since then, unfortunately. And what I found helps me get through that is I never took another hero's dose. I still had some mushrooms in my freezer, so I started hearing about microdosing. Well, let me try that. And once I got it dialed into the amount that I could take without feeling it,
right,
I realized that I could do that for 3 days. If I take just a pinch, just a microdose in the morning for 3 days, I will very, very, in a very real way, start to notice a difference in my attitude, my waking and sleep cycle, my
I think
biorhythms.
it opens up certain parts of your brain.
Yeah, but for 3 days, that's all I do. And then usually after three little pieces, I wouldn't touch it again for months until I felt like things were getting a little out of hand again with my
Right.
mentality or whatever.
Right.
And I'd microdose again. And now I'm out. So I
Oh, yeah.
gotta figure that out. But I just microdosed I think 2 or 3 weeks ago I finished what I like 2 weeks ago I think I finished what I had.
I asked David if I could talk about this, and he said yes. So I smoke a lot of marijuana. I have a very high tolerance. I have a very high tolerance for
Is it legal there?
yes, it is in Oregon. We're in Washington, not Oregon. We're in Washington.
Lucky for you.
It's very, very legal. I can just go down to the dispensary and buy all the weed I want. It's fabulous.
Hey, fuck you, catnip.
Yeah. I have a very, like I said, I have a very high tolerance for anything. I mean, granted, this probably isn't the best example. I had surgery done at Darnell Hospital on Fort Hood. I woke up in the middle of the surgery, like sat up on the operating table, like, and ever since then, I've had to tell doctors whenever I have surgery, I've woken up. That is something that it takes a lot. It takes a lot for anything because my anxiety and my fight or flight is so high constantly.
When you have that tachycardia thing.
No, that will come and go on its own. That's a totally different heart related issue. That's no. Well, if I get really anxious or something, it can, but my supraventricular tachycardia is genetic. I do not have a disability for that. That is my own thing that I so lovingly get from my family. But so I literally have to get to the point where like I will feel nothing and then I'll like get hit in the face. I'm like, okay. I have a very high tolerance because I just refuse to let anything affect me because I can't. Like it's just this tension, this fight or flight constantly, which is how my PTSD manifests daily. Anyway. So yeah, kind of, right. So we have some friends that were like, have you ever dabbed? I was like, no, I haven't. But I want to because I have to smoke so much. And I would take like 3 of the disposable carts at once and I could smoke 5 or 6 times. So I would smoke a half gram cart in a day. So my tolerance was really high.
That is really high.
It is.
That's proper quality out of a dispensary. Like
yes, it is. Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm not using this to just feel high.
Texas, I know people get carts. Oh, those carts suck. They don't do anything. And like, well, you're getting fucking something that someone cooked in their bathroom.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. So we decided to do a dab. My husband's friends came over and they're like, you're going to do a dab. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm totally down for it. I'm ready for this. So I took a dab and that's thing. And I don't smoke to get high. I smoke to relieve. So if I was just going to smoke to get high, then I wouldn't be searching for alternative levels of dosing. This is medicinal for me. So I wanted to just kind of make that clear. Like, I'm not trying to talk about, the best way to get the super high. For me personally, what my threshold is to feel relief from my PTSD symptoms, I have to smoke a lot. I have to get to a very intense place before I can relax, before I can let go. And so I took this dab, very first dab. It was great. It was wonderful. And they were like, that's it? Are you okay? I'm like, yeah, this is really good. They're like, okay. And then David wanted to take a dab. And I told him, I was like, you got to be careful because this is not a regular cart that you're smoking. This is
made it look so easy though.
This is a big deal. And I feel so bad for him because he has a really low tolerance, which is wonderful because he can take 2 or 3 hits and be phenomenal. I can't. I have to keep smoking, right? And he's like, oh, it's embarrassing. I'm like, it's not. It's really not. It sucks having to sit here and smoke while you're already riding the choo-choo train to Calm Town. Like, and then it's like, I'm just pissed. So he takes this dab. He doesn't even get through half of an inhale. And he blows it out. He's coughing. He's sweating. And I'm like, oh, God. I was like, I told you, okay? And he's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And he starts kind of like mannequin walking around the house. And I'm like, you doing okay? He's like, yeah, no, I feel great. Oh, I think I might have fucked up a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I think you might have. And then I find him upstairs and he's, over the toilet, hands over his head and stuff. And I'm like, hey, you okay? He's like, I took too much, I fucked up. And I'm rubbing his back. I'm like, hey, you're on a journey now and it's gonna be okay. You're gonna ride this out. He's like, okay, okay, okay. So about for 5 hours, my man was tripping tripping balls. He was not here. He went on a spirit walk. His soul left his body. And so after about 5 hours, he kind of came to and he came downstairs. I'm like, hey, how you feeling? He was like, hey, buddy. Right. And I kept checking in on him occasionally to make sure he was still breathing and all that stuff. And he came down and he looked at me and he was like, I went on a journey. I was like, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. And he was like, I talked to my dead grandfather. I was like, holy shit. So he was talking to deceased ancestors. Like he went on a journey, like did a ton of stuff because he took a dab. And and he's been completely different since then. I mean, completely different.
I'm gonna have to take a vacation soon and go visit you guys.
You
'Cause
are.
I need some of this yabba dabba.
You are dabba dabba do. And that's the thing. And we have a really big jacuzzi tub in our bathroom, and I just painted it this really pretty blue, and I have twinkle lights and garland and everywhere and plants. So it's a very sacred space that I've created in there. So he was able to have this journey in a safe place, in a comforting place, in a familiar place. And I knew where he was going because I'd accidentally been there before when I was in my late teens, smoking weed, in high school. Everybody does, right? And so we were talking. No, what? What?
A retarded amount of weed. I mean, I've gotten emotional, but I've never gone to like another plane of existence.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I've done. I mean, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Because I do the South Texas shit. I need to
Maybe.
proper.
And so he was talking the other day. He was like, I think I might want to do a dab every 6 months. And I was like, it's funny you should mention that because when you were drinking, you would go on bingers between every 3 to 4 months and 6 months. Like that clockwork. You would go for a binger. He wouldn't come. He wouldn't come home. He wouldn't answer the phone. I mean, no, it was bad. I'm not going to get into details because that's private. That nobody needs to know about the stuff that happened back then because he's not that same person.
Yeah,
it was bad though. I mean, it was bad. And here's the thing: I stuck around because I knew that he had the potential to be this man right here. And I think that's also very important to know when someone has that potential and when they don't, when to step away and when not to.
Oftentimes, the sports car's potential oftentimes depends on the type of gasoline you put in it, right?
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, like through him.
You were the right gasoline for him. You were the fuel he needed to become the high tuned performance vehicle that he is today.
And Frank, I don't know if you know David very well. I'm assuming you do. You know that it wasn't easy to get David to do anything that he doesn't want to do. So he fought me, kicking and screaming through all of it. Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It wasn't like, oh, maybe you're right. It's like, watch me. It's like, do you feel good now that it failed? Do you feel good? You can try this now? Okay, let's do this. Right. So
like a big man now? Yeah.
you feel good? You feel good about what you've done? No.
You're so great. Well, we've been way too long.
Oh, okay.
I can't let you keep talking.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Go. Be a wife. Oh, this is completely inappropriate podcast, everybody. This has been Laura, one of the most informative guests. I think, Frank, I'll give you 2 seconds to come up with something to say.
Okay, so
you're out of time. So this is a completely inappropriate podcast, everybody. I've been Anthony along with Mr.
I'm glad you cut me off. I am Frank.
And remember, you can find us at completelyinappropriatepodcast@gmail.com with any comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions for guests if you care for them. CI Podcast on Instagram, Completely Inap with 1P on Twitter. Find us at BitChute, YouTube, and wherever you find us, you found us. If you found us, you get a cookie, just not from us. Go find one, you fucking cheap bastards. Much love to you guys. Frank, what do we tell the lovely listener?
Be excellent to each other. I already said it.
I wanted it because I'm ending it really fast here just because we've gone so long. But I do want to say thank you, Laura. From the
Thank you for having me. I'm glad I could. I hope this reaches somebody. I hope they do some research and
Oh,
start
no,
their
nobody
own
listens
journey.
to this. Nobody listens to this. This was just for
Nobody?
us.
Oh,
But
okay.
we'll put it out there in case.
All
anybody
right.
wants to.
Okay.
You can tag it. Tell your friends.
I will. I absolutely will.
All right. Well, much love to you. Thank you so much. Any last thing you want to say to the people?
You're worth the work. You're worth the work.
Yeah, to each other. Bye, Frank.
Bye.